Good morning, and welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. It is October 26th. I did another test run of what we're doing for the anniversary next year last night. I think we are encountering issues, which a lot of times I can't control, but, I'm trying to come up with a system by which, that's going to be the big issue, is coming up with a system that is, easy. Because it's not like, when you play Emerald normally, you know what you're getting when you get to each of the, when you get to each of the gyms. But if we do a complete randomize, where it's like randomizing moves, randomizing types, randomizing, Pokemon, you get to Roxanne, and it's not like you're dealing with someone who you're anticipating. She is going to have entirely different Pokemon with entirely different types, and you will, in all likelihood, not be prepared for it. And that's kind of what I got stuck on last night, where I was overpowered her, but I still couldn't get past her. But we'll give it another shot. Probably tonight. That's just a long way of saying I did not watch The Peripheral yet. If you're wondering why I didn't put The Peripheral on beware of spoilers yet, I've been busy. I've been playtesting this system, coming up with points, that kind of thing. If you want to support the show, go to multipleworldproductions.com/pre-orders. The link is also going to be in the episode description. If you go there, you can pre-order Echo Delta Part 1 or We Are Better Than Our Worst Instincts, the upcoming books coming out in November and November and June. I'm debating doing another Blitz in November, which is basically what I call we put everything on for free. The annual onboarding Blitz. I think that I have to work on the marketing plan for that a little bit before we make any formal announcements, but I think there will be an onboarding Blitz this year, the week of Thanksgiving, same as we always do. I think we should do that anytime we have a new book coming out. It's probably the best way to do it. Just, get people in with that and then be like, here's the new book as well. So, yeah, I think we're going to do that. But I'll look into that further on my break when I'm not working on other stuff. I have very limited time to actually work on things, which is why we're getting to this story so late. In this case, the story is one that broke on Monday night, that according to reports, and I'm not seeing any actual source for this besides the one blog that reported on this, and then everyone kind of took it because he's considered a Hollywood insider because he used to work for the Hollywood Reporter. According to this guy, who kind of has an axe to grind with Lucasfilm, he is claiming that Disney had to meet with Kathleen Kennedy to tell her to stop announcing new theatrical projects. This comes after, we also had the announcement on Monday, or the reported, announced on Monday, that Damien Lindelof has been brought on to make a Star Wars movie that'll be set after sequels and create a new, trilogy of movies. And if we look at, all of the announced theatrical projects, it's there's Rian Johnson's trilogy, which is still in development. Who knows when that's ever going to happen, because right now he's knivesing it out at Netflix. There's also and that's a trilogy. Benioff and Weiss, I don't think that's ever been formally canceled, but they had movies in development. So that's something else right there. There is those two. There's Kevin Feige is developing a movie, probably with Chloe Zhao of Eternals and Nomadland directing. That one is the one I'd be most excited for, because I know that I'm alone in this, but I really liked what's it called? I really liked Eternals. Then there was who else was there? Those two. Then I feel like there were Taika Waititi had a movie in development, unknown what the status is on that. And there was also a movie in development from what's it called? I almost said Mark Wahlberg. I'm not 100% certain why that almost came out of my mouth, but it's not Mark Wahlberg. Who the fuck was it? Who the fuck was it? Who was the last person? Patty Jenkins. She had Rogue Squadron, and that's been indefinitely postponed, pulled off the release calendar entirely. Because it's supposed to come out next year, but there's no movement on that. And what they're saying is, they told Kathleen Kennedy to stop announcing these projects when they're not close to being done. And look, here's the thing. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy gets a lot of shit. Anything that goes wrong with Star Wars is her fault. Anything that goes right in Star Wars is in spite of her. It's this weird thing where it's like, she doesn't get any of the credit, but she gets all the blame. And it's not a weird thing, because I know exactly why it is, but, that is the way it is. She gets, none of the credit, all of the blame. The sequels, all of the blame. Mandalorian and, all of that stuff. That's not, she didn't do that. That was Filoni and Favreau. It's like, no, but, it's as much her as the sequels are her if she is overseeing the studio. So looking at, what she had going on with that, I don't think that, and I think here's the first part of the story. I don't think a lot of these announcements came from the horse's mouth. I know for certain that the project about the Rogue Squadron project, I know for certain came from an Investor Day announcement, because it was announced at the same time Kang the Conqueror was announced, and Jonathan Majors would be playing him in Quantumania. That was the same day in late 2020. I want to say December 2020 that was. So that all kind of was around the same time. In the same presentation was Rogue Squadron with Patty Jenkins directing, and that was a big Star Wars announcement out of that, I think, if I remember correctly. And if that's the case, and look, that's one, okay? The rest of them, I don't know how much of that came directly from her. Because a lot of that, I seem to recall it being like report. I didn't look too deeply into it, but if I remember correctly, a lot of those came from reportedly this is happening and then this has been signed and it's all that, and it's like deadlines, stuff like that. But it's not, the studio head doesn't come down and announce movies 9 times out of 10. Like, in the case of Kevin Feige, yes. In the case of probably James Gunn, now that he's heading up DC Studios, once that launches in November, once he formally takes over in November 1st, yes, both of them, are taking over, and they both will go out there and have a very vocal, prominent voice. Kathleen Kennedy's a very traditional, she's a very traditional producer, because she's been producing since the 80s. The residuals on the movies that she's done would make it that way she never has to work a day of her life, and yet here she is heading up Star Wars anyway. Because it's she doesn't need to. She's got residuals from Back to the Future. She's got residuals from Hook, from Jurassic Park, from any movie Spielberg produced from a certain point on. She was working as a producer on the projects. And to that end, I don't think she's the kind of person who's going to get out. She's never been the person to get out in front and announce something. She never has a presence at press events. She never has a presence at things like that. She does sit down to Variety or Vanity Fair, but you never see her at D23, or you rarely see her at D23, going up there and being the hype man in the way that Kevin Feige is. Feige is totally different, and it's not she's going out there and making these announcements herself. That's the thing that I'm like, but wait, like, she didn't make these announcements. And the other part of this was the idea that she had so much power that she was able to, issue, I guess is the right word, the announcement of Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross for the Thunderbolts movie. That she put her foot down and was like, no, you can't announce that because I want all the focus to be on Harrison Ford for, for Indiana Jones 5. And it's like, I can understand that from a marketing standpoint, but we have to keep in mind, too, like, Marvel has announced things in the last few months and then immediately backtracked, or not immediately, well, kind of immediately backtracked, because here's the thing, they announced a release date for Deadpool 3, and then a week later postponed it, to when they did the reshuffle because of the Blade movement. Like, it was a week. The first trailer came out, and then a week later they changed it. Like, or the teaser came out, and then they changed it a week later. It's like, here's the thing. Like, if that's the case, then it's entirely possible they did not have the, they did not have the contract solidified for him to play Thunderbolt Ross. Like, that is very much a possibility. And it's, look, I'm not saying it definitely happened, I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm saying is, if that's the case, and there's a very easy way to explain the change in appearance. Number one, they could just Hulk or War Machine it. But if they really want to address it, it's pretty simple. Just say he was a Skrull, and here's the real one. Because they're doing Secret Invasion between then and now and then. And look, I'm not saying it definitely didn't happen. I'm just saying that if I'm Marvel Studios, I am like, and she's like, no, you can't put Harrison Ford in your in your presentation because it'll take away attention from mine. I would just be like, who the fuck are you? Like, on what planet would that happen anywhere else? Where it's like, no, you can't make this casting announcement because, like, that's why I don't believe it. And the thing is, too, what cachet is Lucasfilm bringing to this that they have the power to override Marvel? Because at the end of the day, all that D23 is a giant press event or a giant investor event to show off all the cool new shit and basically tell the investors, this is why you should keep giving us money. And look, I understand all of that, and I understand that's the point of this. And to that end, like, it doesn't matter who gets the more attention. It doesn't matter if there are more people looking at Lucasfilm or Indiana Jones, or if they're looking at Marvel. It does not matter. It is all the same at the end of the day. So, like, the idea that she would come in and be like, no, you're going to take away focus from Indiana Jones 5, and it's like, well, if I remember correctly, too, they were on different days. So Indiana Jones, and the thing is, too, Indiana Jones 5 didn't get a ton of attention. It's not like they debuted the trailer publicly. They did it in the event, within the confines of D23. And if you were there, you could see it, but if you were at home, you couldn't. And that's the thing, is it's like, how much less press would Indiana Jones 5 have gotten if the next day they announced that Harrison Ford was joining? It's not like they were competing events, because the overlap between the two, in terms of audience, is substantial. They're not putting those two events on competing with each other. Like, it's just so fucking stupid. Like, on what planet does she have that? Like, it makes zero sense. If you think about it for like 3 seconds, and a lot of this comes from people who hate Kathleen Kennedy, and they tend to skew one way or the other. And if you look at it, it's like, look, if you take 3 seconds and think about the semantics of what they're claiming, it makes no sense within the confines of what it is. Like, all D23 is, it's a way for Disney to not have to share the press. It's not like Comic-Con, where if they show up at Comic-Con and announce something, they're competing with everyone else at Comic-Con announcing something. And this year, it just so happened that they came in strapped to the teeth with just everything they could possibly announce, so they kind of overrode everything. Meanwhile, DC brought, a trailer for Black Adam and a trailer for Shazam. And you're looking at it that way, and it's like, okay, well, they overrode it this year. But what about the future? Like, how does this work going forward? Like, and if this is the case, and if this is, we're looking at this and we're being like, okay, so Kathleen Kennedy gets that level of... And the thing is, too, it's like, isn't her contract almost up? I feel her contract's up next year. Like, why the fuck would you be like, okay, well, we'll do that? Like, no. Like, it makes no sense. Like, it makes zero sense that they would bow to... If she made that demand, they would bow to it. It's far more likely that when they made the announcement, and keeping in mind, too, that we have concept art that they released and a cast photo of them, I don't think it's like... I think it's far more likely that what happened was they didn't have the contract completed yet. And it was far enough after D23 that the announcement came that it's like, oh, okay, well, that... I can see that. That all makes sense. Like, I see how... I see how it ended up in this, situation where Harrison Ford didn't get announced at D23. It makes sense. We don't need a conspiracy theory about Kathleen Kennedy ruining everything when likely she had absolutely nothing to do with the situation. Like, that is very likely in this situation, that she had nothing to do with it. It's likely she found out when the news broke that she stopped. Because that's the thing, too. How much would she know about the goings-on within the confines of another studio? Because that's the thing, too. It's all under Disney. Like, Disney owns all of these studios. Disney owns Marvel Studios, Disney owns Lucasfilm, Disney owns Pixar, Disney owns National Geographic, Disney owns ESPN. It's easy to be like, oh, well, they all know what's going on and everything, because it's like, well, in my company, I know. But, like, the thing is, you don't know the goings-on within different departments of the company you work for a lot of times, let alone entire sub-entities that are totally different. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, she probably knows something. I'm not saying she knows nothing about what's going on at Marvel, but to be like, oh, well, they're casting Harrison Ford and they're going to bring him out on stage during a presentation that is not the same presentation as ours, like, what the fuck? How would she have known that? They're not going to run Marvel's announcement schedule by her. Like, they're not going to, like, they wouldn't do that. And I realized that Marvel and Lucasfilm did share a panel the next day, and that was the one where they announced it, but I don't think that they would be like, I would be like, really? Like, why? What's it going to do? It just makes her look petty when we report like this. It's dumb. But we'll wrap up there for today. As always, check the episode description for information on how you can support the show. And until then, have a great rest of your week.